Storytelling is one of the greatest skills a magician performs to woo the audience with wonder. But still, the greatest magic acts are the ones which generate the highest level of curiosity. So be it Dom Chambers' Tequila from an iPhone trick, or the famous Colin Cloud's amazing Twitter act. Hello and welcome back, and today we're gonna figure out the secrets behind the world's top 10 famous magic tricks. So, let's get started. At number 10, the live bird magic trick. Magicians all around the world have come up with many exciting tricks involving birds. Here you can see this magician and how he puts that cloth inside the bird-shaped frame. To add more spice to this trick, he even turns the bird's photo into a real living bird. He ends his performance by disappearing all the birds under that cage. So, how did he do it? Well, here's the secret. The trick lies in that gimmick frame, also known as dove frame. It is a special frame which has a picture of a dove on it. The frame is held in place by a spring-loaded mechanism. Yes, one half of the frame is a flap which opens and closes in a very quick time using that spring. Now you must have got it. When the magician holds that cloth near the frame, the flap is released to display the bird picture. Here, he pulls the cloth inside his sleeve using a gecko technique. Also inside that frame, there's a real bird safely hidden, as the part of the frame at the backside is an elastic one to make enough space for the bird. So finally, to bring back the bird, the flap again goes back to the initial position to display a blank picture as the bird is released to end this awesome trick. Now, in the final part of the trick, how did he make all the birds disappear from that cage? Well, this trick is similar to the one performed by Darcy Oak. However, Darcy even revealed a girl from that cage in addition. The disappearing of birds is an easy one. The cage is a gimmick. Here, there is a single compartment underneath the cage which collapses to make the illusion possible. However, in Darcy's act, the cage placed on the table actually has two compartments. The front one, which has the cage that's clearly visible, and the back compartment has a space where the girl was hiding throughout the magic since the start of the show. Finally, she comes out at the end to amaze us all. At number 9, the mind-reading vacation trick. Oz Pearlman, the Emmy Award-winning Israeli mentalist, is one of the few who transitioned successfully from a day job at the Wall Street to a full-time magician. In his first appearance on America's Got Talent, he impressed everyone with his mind-reading skills. During his performance, Oz first correctly predicts a random number below 100, which Heidi had picked. Thereafter, he managed to read Mel B's mind about a past vacation trip and a friend that accompanied her on that trip to amaze everyone around. So, how did Oz perform this mentalism trick? Let's quickly get to the secret. There are two parts in this trick. The first, where he correctly guesses Heidi's number, and the second part where he reads Mel B's mind about a vacation trip in the past. Coming to the first part, how did he guess which number Heidi would pick? While coming towards the judges' table, he writes a few words onto the paper. Here, he writes only Heidi's name onto it without any number, so that he is only left with a few digits to write later on. Now, when he writes Heidi's number in the notebook using a black marker, notice he's not really writing. He's just acting and pretending to write a certain number. A few moments later, after he gives Howie the marker, if you see his right hand, it's actually inside the pocket. Here, he takes out a gimmick from his pocket while everyone was distracted towards his notebook. The gimmick is called the Swami gimmick or the thumb writer. Thereafter, when Heidi told Oz the number she had in her mind, at this moment, Oz had that gimmick already wore in his right-hand thumb. Now, once Heidi picks a number, in these few seconds, he writes down that number 57 using that thumb marker. Moving on to the next part of the trick where he correctly predicts the information about Mel B's vacation trip in the past. Here, one thing's for sure that the stapled envelope was not inside his pocket when he began his act. So, how did he get the information inside that stapled paper? So there must be a way by which Oz gets the correct information printed inside the prediction envelope. Now, if you observe, he was seen using so many different pens. What's the reason? Well, for the first part, he used a black pen, while for Mel B's part, he used a blue pen to write down what she was thinking. So here, he had that stapled envelope hidden and held with his left hand, where he could write through the envelope using that blue, inkless pen. But how did he write through the envelope with an inkless pen? Here, there was a carbon paper sandwiched with a paper note inside a sealed envelope. Also, most of the text in his paper note was pre-written before the act. All Oz needed was the year, location, and Mel B's friend's name. After knowing that information, Oz now only writes the year 1998, the location Fiji, and her friend Jerry through the envelope, which he was holding at this moment, and hides it from everyone. Here, pressure applied with the inkless pen on top of the envelope makes the paper note underneath turn blue using the carbon paper process, while the envelope would itself remain with nothing written over it. All Oz did then was to put the envelope in his palm. So here, the envelope was already concealed in his left-hand palm from our view before he reached into his pocket to take it out. Now he pretends to take the prediction envelope out from his pocket and then reveals it to everyone. So the only question which all of you must think is, how did Oz know what Mel B was thinking so that he could write it down? Since everyone in the audience except Oz could see what was written on the paper, that is, the place Fiji and her friend Jerry, it's not difficult for someone else to relay that information through the magician's headset. Now, for those who don't believe in the above approach, a better approach would be to tear apart the piece of paper on which Mel B writes her facts, Fiji and Jerry. Yes, as you can see here, Mel B was forced to write only on the limited center portion of the paper before Oz rips off that piece of paper. The trick here lies in the way that the paper was folded and torn apart by Oz, and here's how it was done. He first folds the paper twice and tears it apart. He then stacks them up while keeping the center part at the top of the stack and tears it again. So here, ripping it in half preserves the middle space where the information is written. But when did Oz have a chance to take a peek? After Oz tore the paper 2 times, if you pay attention to the moment while he appeared to be giving the pieces to Howie, here, he was secretly peeking at Mel's writing and quickly proceeds to tear the note a few more times. Finally, the envelope is revealed and the prediction worked out perfectly well to amaze everyone around. At number 8, Tequila from an iPhone trick. Dom Chambers, the Australian magician known for his amazing beer magic, this time around moved up in the world to America's Got Talent and performed an interactive cocktail trick. Here's what he did. He first asks Julianne to select a drink from a list of cocktails. He also brings along an assistant. Yes, that iPhone's Siri is Dom's assistant for the trick. Now Siri asks the judges to name any card of their choice. Simon names 7 and Howie chooses Hearts. So the card they chose is the 7 of Hearts. Siri then reveals the exact 7 of Hearts card on the iPhone screen, which Dom then pulls it out to amaze everyone around. And now comes the trick you're waiting for. After getting to know that Tequila Sunrise is the drink that Julianne had selected, Dom pours the tequila right out of his iPhone. Finally, it was confirmed to be the real tequila that came out of the phone. So, how did he do it? Well, here's the secret. There are 2 parts in this trick. First, the card trick, and second, the cocktail trick. Also, the way he presented this act in an interactive way also stands out. Now, the first trick is obvious, it's a basic sleight of hand. Also, if you notice, he brought a notebook with him. Yes, he took out the folded card from that notebook and placed it in his right hand. If you notice, in this frame, he already had the folded card hidden in his right hand. Also, he doesn't show the card openly, instead, he's just making sure no one gets a shy on the card. Now, using his quick skills, at the exact moment when the on-screen card disappears, he pulls out the actual folded card from his hand to create this amazing effect. But still, how did Dom predict the judge's 7 of Hearts card, which he had palmed in his hand? Well, the technique he must have used here is the psychological card force, which forced the judges to name the exact card that he wants, and the most reliable one is the 7 of Hearts, which the judges mostly pick. Another scenario is that there's someone sitting inside the table picking out the card, folding it, and handing it over to him on the backside for him to palm. But still, the psychological card force seems a more logical way to do it. Now, coming to the second part, how did he pour out the tequila from an iPhone? Here you can see the lamination foil coming out of the iPhone cover. Also, the phone case is a bit thicker. Now, inside that case, there's an inbuilt compartment which can only hold a sip or two of the liquid. But the question is, how did he know what drink to fill it with prior to the trick? Well, he didn't fill the case prior to the act. It was all done during the act. Now, after Dom asks Julianne what the drink was that she had selected, if you notice thereafter, he had enough time to fill the case with a few sips of Tequila Sunrise. Yes, there were a few seconds left before he pours out the drink. Now, in that time, he filled the liquid in the phone case from behind. Also, there's a mechanism placed below the table to process the correct liquid. The table had a box with multiple compartments underneath it, each filled with a few shots of liquid matching the drinks on the list. And the mechanism was remotely controlled by Dom. So after the remote trigger, the desired liquid, that is, the Tequila Sunrise, was released, as it travels through a thin tube which connects to the back of the phone case and fills it up. Finally, Dom disconnects that tube and magically brings out the tequila out of that phone to amaze everyone around. Another scenario could have been that there's a person hiding inside that table and he's the one who pumps the liquid into that tube, but this scenario seems a bit too far-fetched. Also, during the whole act, the phone had the same time, 11:27, displayed on the screen even after more than 2 minutes into the act. And there was also a charging sign displayed on the screen which confirms that it was a pre-recorded video. But the way Dom synchronized the whole act made it look quite magical. At number 7, Building Levitation. Criss Angel is quite famous for his levitation acts. And one such act is his famous Building Levitation, where he levitates from one building to another in presence of the spectators watching him from below on the ground. So, can you make out what's behind this trick? Well, before revealing the secret, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can get instant notifications of our new video uploads. For those who are still trying to figure it out, here's the secret. When we watch this act on TV, it's quite an amazing experience. But there's a lot of preparation that went about staging this act. The setup here is hidden for the TV audience, which involves a man operating a crane, and it is this crane which carries Criss around those buildings using wires, thus creating the illusion of levitation. Criss is attached to the crane using very thin wires which are almost invisible, as it was also that time of the day where the bright sky and the correct camera angles made the wires seem almost invisible to the audience. Now you must think, how come the audience present there didn't notice the giant crane? You're right, they probably can see the crane, but the fact is that they are all paid actors and there aren't any real spectators around. All those amazed people were just executing their acting skills to perfection to make the levitation seem real. At number 6, Smoke from a Glass Trick. When it comes to magic, Ben Hart literally has got everything: presentation, looks, and charisma. Using these tools, here's what he did on Britain's Got Talent, which impressed everyone around. He brings along an empty glass and a saucer, places that saucer on top of that glass, and covers it with a red cloth. Thereafter, he picks out a matchstick, fires it up, and stuns everyone by swallowing that burning match. Later, that burning match was found to reappear in that matchbook Alicia was holding in her hand. Between the act, he even brings out smoke from inside that empty glass. The other half of the trick saw him disappearing Simon's selected card as he places on his hand. Finally, when Alicia was told to open the matchbook, Simon's missing 9 of clubs card was found to magically replace the matchbook. So, how did he do it? Well, here's the secret. The trick consists of 3 parts. First, the smoke coming out of the glass, second, the matchbook part, and the last part involves Simon's card, which Ben disappears. Coming to the first part, when Ben places the glass on the table and the saucer on top. Here you can see him hiding something in his right hand which remains on the saucer after he covers it all with the red cloth. So he was hiding a loosely packed dry ice or something similar, which was responsible for filling the glass with smoke. Now, during this moment, when he opens the loose packet, the dry ice comes in touch with the air and slowly releases the smoke under that cloth to create the smoke illusion. For the next part, how does he disappear and reappear the burnt match? Well, after Ben takes out that matchbook from his pocket, you can see his middle finger holding tightly onto something. Yes, below that finger, he has another burnt match positioned downwards in this way. Thereafter, he picks the match out of the box. Now, a few frames later, just before lighting that match and swallowing it, he quickly straightens that hidden burnt match and swaps it with the original match before closing the matchbook and handing it over to Alicia. He then swallows the burnt match and disappears it. But now you know it. There's another burnt match placed in that book, and this is how he creates the illusion of the match magically reappearing. Now, coming to the next part, he first asks Simon to pick any random card. Simon picks the 9 of clubs. He then places that card over Simon's hand, but how did he make that card disappear? Also, when he fans the cards in front of Simon, if you freeze this frame, you'll see that the 9 of clubs is not present inside that deck. So how did Simon choose it? Well, to force the 9 of clubs to Simon, it was simply palmed to him. Another scenario could be that he had glued all duplicate 9 of clubs loosely at the back of each of the cards. So from the front, you only see different cards, while the back of each card was a 9 of clubs loosely attached. Now, when he's about to place the selected 9 of clubs on Simon's hand, using a quick sleight of hand, he swiftly flicks that card with his left hand back into the deck, and then quickly puts his hand on top of Simon's hand and finally slips the deck of cards into his pocket. This creates the illusion that the card was placed on Simon's hand and magically disappeared. Now, coming to the final part, how did he swap Simon's card with the matchbook? Well, after Alicia opens that matchbook, if you see the back of this card, it's white-colored to make it look like a matchbook. Now, the back of Alicia's card doesn't match with the 9 of clubs back which Simon had selected. So this means that he swapped the matchbook for a folded card somewhere in the trick. Also, you can see here there was no card placed inside that matchbook before the swap. Now, when Alicia returns the matchbook, you can see him taking out the previous book and swapping it with the folded card. He then asks Alicia to hold that folded card resembling the book of matches tightly in her hand. This prevents her from seeing the folded card. Finally, Simon's card was revealed to amaze everyone around. At number 5, walking through a brick wall. Harry Houdini, the greatest mystifier of magic, performed the astonishing illusion of passing through a brick wall in July 1914 in the city of New York. The trick was kept secret for a long time and was only performed by Houdini on a few rare occasions. In this trick, a brick wall was made on the center of the stage. Genuine audience were called upon the stage to test the brick wall for its authenticity and toughness. After the final test of the brick wall by the audience, screens were placed by Houdini's assistants on both sides of the wall. And now the magic begins before the audience. Houdini enters the screen on one side, passes through the wall, and shouts out loud, quoting, "Here I am," by raising his hands above the screen on the other side of the wall. The screen is then removed by his assistants, thus finally revealing Houdini to the audience. But how did he actually pass through the wall? Well, here's the secret. Houdini was the one who entered the screen on one side, but after a while, fake hands are made to rise up from the other side of the wall using ropes. Now, Houdini shouts and says, here I am," which makes the illusion that Houdini has indeed passed to the other side. But being on the same side, Houdini disguises himself as one of his assistants. Now, along with his assistants, he moves to the next side in disguise and gets behind the screen. Here, he undresses himself back to his original look and the screen is removed, thereby finally revealing Houdini to the audience. So this is how Houdini passes through the brick wall. At number 4, the Rubik's Cube magic. Stephen Brundage, one of the best Rubik's Cube magicians in the world, performed a trick on America's Got Talent which puzzled everyone around. Here's what he did. He brings 2 bags and goes to the judges' table to start performing the trick. From the first bag, he takes out a solved Rubik's Cube, randomly mixes up all its 6 sides, and puts it back into the bag. A few seconds later, when he takes the cube back out with his right hand, it was now a solved cube, and then crushes the bag to confirm that there was no other cube present inside. Thereafter, he takes out another solved cube from the second bag, randomly mixes it up, and also lets Simon to mix it up at any random times before putting it back into the bag. Now, similar to the previous one, the cube was solved when he takes it out from the bag, and then comes the main part of the trick. He takes out Simon's randomized cube from the bag and tells him to cover it up on all 6 sides. Finally, he mixes up the solved Rubik's Cube, which he took out from the bag, and turns it to match Simon's randomized cube on all 6 sides. So, how did he do that? Let's quickly get to the secret. The trick consists of 2 parts, the one involving the first bag and then the second bag. If you observe closely, after taking out the solved cube from the first bag, he rotates it 6 or 7 times before putting it back in the bag. Well, there's no illusion for this part. However, when he takes out the cube again, he indeed solved the cube one-handed in a few seconds. And Steven, being a professional Rubik's Cube solver, he remembered those 6 to 7 moves and had practiced it many times to solve it in a few seconds using only his right hand. Now, for the second part, here the trick involves misdirection along with the skills. When he takes Simon's mixed up cube, here, if we pause the frame, just remember this side of the cube. Remember the 4 adjacent yellows. Now he puts Simon's cube into the bag and takes out a solved cube, and then the randomized unsolved cube and hands it over to Simon. Also at the end, when he matched up both cubes, none of its 6 sides matched with the cube Simon had mixed up. Yes, the one with the 4 adjacent yellows. So it's obvious, before he put Simon's cube inside the bag already had 2 cubes, the one in a solved state and another, the unsolved cube, prepared as per what Steven wanted. Finally, he knew the moves, so he mixes up the solved cube in a very quick time, and indeed, the 2 cubes match to perfection. So now we know it. Simon's mixed up cube, after he puts it inside the bag, he secretly puts it on the floor in a move of misdirection during this moment. Also, if you see his fingers partially crushing the bag, it confirms that there were cubes already present inside. At number 3, the tweet prediction trick. Colin Cloud, the magician you have all been waiting for, performed an amazing prediction act where he first showed a message on the AGT Twitter account asking to post a combination of celebrity, city, and object names. Howie and Simon then collect some of the printed responses from the crowd. He then asks Mel B to randomly choose a printed card and Heidi to randomly pick an individual tweet. Colin then shows an undercover pre-recorded video of him mentioning the 3 exact words from the tweet to the judges before the show. Finally, the board placed on stage also revealed the exact words Ellen, Rome, cheese to amaze everyone around. So, how did Colin predict the correct tweet? Well, here's the secret. The judge's choice of the 3 words was forced by Colin. Now, all the printed tweets of the crowd had different responses. However, no matter which printed response Mel B selected, the final result would always be the one which Colin wants. After Mel B selects the printed card and hands him the card with the tweets, here you can clearly see him reaching inside his right pocket. Yes, he pulls out a sticky paper with the tweet Ellen, Rome, cheese on it. So the tweet Heidi selected was altered by Colin as he had a sticker concealed behind his fingers. Here you can actually see him rubbing it on the paper. The rest is just a forced selection. So it doesn't matter where Heidi made him stop, as the sticker would always land at the stop position. Now you'd think, where did he hide the sticker before using it, as it could easily get stuck inside his pockets? Well, to ensure that the stickers are safe, he used a gimmick known as Sonata Gimmick, consisting of fake fingers and is available in magic shops. It is used to produce, conceal, vanish, or exchange any small items like coins, bills, stickers, etc. As for Heidi picking that exact tweet out of them all, look at the printed card when he shows it to the audience. Notice how that tweet is the only one with emoticons, therefore more likely to be seen and more likely to be picked. Finally, he turns that board around as the number also matches his prediction. For this part, he made this number up knowing it would read Ellen, Rome, Cheese when the board is turned upside down. And this is how he forced the judges to select this amazing tweet. At number 2, the Metamorphosis illusion. In this famous Houdini classic, his hands were tied behind him before being put into a small box that was then locked shut. Houdini's wife, Bess, would then stand atop the box and pull a curtain up to cover her from the view of the audience. However, when the curtain was dropped, she was no longer there, and instead, it was Houdini. Finally, the box was unlocked, but what do we see? Bess was found to be bound inside a sack inside the box. The entire illusion took only a few seconds to perform. So, how did Houdini magically exchange places? Well, this trick requires a lot of practice before the final execution, and since Houdini was a master on ropes and knots, he had practiced it a lot to unlock himself in a few seconds. Here, after Houdini goes inside that sack, he slipped his hands out of the knot, so his hands were free by the time the sack was pulled over his head. Also, the sack had 2 small openings the size of a person's eyes around the top edge of the sack. Now, the opening allowed Houdini to get hold of the rope from inside and pull it inside to loosen it. After Houdini goes inside the box, he quickly gets out of the sack while his wife Bess locks the box and then straps the box lid. Now, once Bess drew the curtain closed, Houdini escapes out of the box through a trapdoor panel built at the back of the box. At the same time, Bess goes inside the box through that back panel of the box. Meanwhile, the locks and straps are all intact. Finally, when Houdini unlocks and unstraps the box, his wife quickly goes inside the sack and bounds her wrists with the rope in just a few seconds. And this is how they magically exchanged places. So finally, moving on to the last trick on our list, the card prediction trick. Piff the Magic Dragon, a famous magician from the United Kingdom, is not just a skilled magician, but also has a great sense of humor. He once performed a trick on America's Got Talent auditions where he invites Heidi Klum to the stage and tells her to pick a card randomly from a deck of cards and then sign on it. He also takes out a huge card from the box, but it turns out to be a different card than the one she picked. Now, bending Heidi's card in different ways, Piff magically transforms the selected King of Hearts into his predicted 7 of Spades card. So, how did he do it? Well, the secret lies in that huge card in his hand. Yes, that card was pre-selected by Piff before the trick, and in a scenario where the judges were somehow allowed to change that card, then the whole act would have been spoiled. Fortunately, that didn't happen as the 7 of Spades card stayed in the act. Now this trick's an easy one. The King of Hearts that Heidi selected was pasted over a 7 of Spades card. Also, that card was pasted in the form of a sticker in 4 parts. Here, the space of the card where Heidi writes her initials was not part of those stickers, so her signature stayed there. Now, all Piff did was to scratch each of the 4 stickers one by one to make everyone believe in the illusion. He also made sure to hide the part that he's rubbing behind his fingers. So, no matter which card Heidi picked, it was always going to be the 7 of Spades card matching Piff's prediction. Now you'd think, how did Heidi only select that gimmick card from the deck? Well, that gimmick card was forced onto Heidi. If you look at this moment, you can see him separating a card behind his fingers. Also, he hides that gimmick card under his left hand at the bottom. Now, when Heidi chooses the card, he squares the cards up with that card on the bottom and instantly flips it over to make this amazing act possible. So guys, hope you got the secrets behind some of the world's most famous magic tricks. Which one out of the 10 tricks did you like the most? And name any other magic trick you would like us to reveal. Tell us in the comments below. Do like and share this video with your friends on social media. For more such amazing things, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And finally, thanks for watching.